I've been a fan of rap music as long as I can remember, and over the years, I've investigated the different gimmicks that rappers have used to gain notoriety. From MF Doom's supervillain persona to Insane Clown Posse's entire essence, all the way to Rick Ross playing identity theft. Hell, even Jeezy had a snowman and rode it all the way to the bank. However, there is one gimmick that has always fascinated me above all others: the album released from prison. And I'm not talking about an album which was released while the artist was in prison, as the case with Tupac's Me Against the World. Instead, this video covers albums which were recorded either entirely or almost entirely while the artist was incarcerated. So check yourself and watch your neck as we cover 5 albums which were made in prison. Starting off with a great example of an authentic over-the-phone prison release, we have Back in the Hood by Mac Dre. Mac Dre was a Bay Area rapper who gained notoriety in the early 2000s. However, he had been dropping projects as early as 1989 when he was only in high school. One of these projects was Back in the Hood, a 5-song EP recorded entirely over the phone. The cover cleverly states it was recorded live from Fresno County Jail, which is where Mac Dre spent 4 years of his life, from 1992 to 1996. Honestly, his entire conviction and trial deserves a video of its own, but nonetheless, the EP starts off with an operator contacting the producer, Kyrie, with a phone call from the Fresno County Jail, before the beat drops and we get 5 tracks of Mac Dre rapping over the phone. The album includes some pretty good Mac Dre verses, including My Chevy, which was reused 1 year later on his first studio album, Young Black Brother. After his release, he would go on to release 11 more studio albums, concluding with The Game Is Thick Volume 2, which released only 13 days prior to his death on November 1st, 2004. He was the victim of a drive-by shooting, and to this day, the murder remains unsolved. Despite the tragedy surrounding his conviction and his death, Mac Dre created some pretty great music, and Back in the Hood is a great representation of someone making the best of a shitty situation, and is definitely worth listening to for any rap fan. Slick Rick is a legendary rapper who's been going since 1984, and has been sampled in music from plenty of renowned artists such as Eminem, Beyonce, Snoop, and even Miley Cyrus. Despite his legendary status, Slick Rick has only released 4 studio albums, the third of which is appropriately titled Behind Bars. To give you some background, Slick Rick was arrested in 1990 after shooting at least 4 times at former bodyguard Mark Plummer. One bullet hit Plummer, as well as another innocent bystander, neither of which maintained any sort of life-threatening injuries. Ever since, Slick Rick has maintained that it was a self-defense situation, but he eventually pled guilty to several charges and spent 5 years in prison. Despite his incarceration, the Behind Bars album was recorded while he was on a furlough from prison, and additional recordings from a work release period, meaning that this album didn't suffer from being recorded through a phone, thus making it sound like a normal album. Even though that's the case, the album and the beats were constructed around his vocals and included several features. It was eventually released on November 22, 1994, and has since become a classic amongst fans of Slick Rick. Charlie Wingate, otherwise known as Max B, is a New York-based rapper who is first known for his affiliation with Bird Gang before leaving the group. During his solo come-up, Max B was also fighting several charges stemming from a 2006 incident where Max B allegedly sent his girlfriend and stepbrother to rob 2 men at a Holiday Inn, which the 2 did. At the end of it all, one man, David Taylor, was shot point blank. Wingate and the duo were later arrested and charged, and in January 2007, Max B was remanded to Bergen County Jail on $2 million bail. And just 2 years later, he was found guilty on 9 of 11 counts and ultimately found guilty of robbery and murder conspiracy. He was sentenced to 75 years in prison. However, he later would appeal the charge, and eventually the sentence was reduced to only 20 years, and again reduced to just 12. But this legal battle wouldn't stop him from releasing several projects from behind bars, most of which were leftover recordings from before he was convicted. But he's also recorded several tracks from a prison phone, including the entirety of Toothy Wavy. Toothy Wavy is a 6-song EP from 2012 featuring Max B alongside Isaiah Toothtaker. Despite his incarceration, Max B has been able to maintain his relevance, with the best case stemming from none other than Kanye West. So to understand the story, you have to first understand that Max B, as far as I could tell, is the originator of being wavy, with several projects of his containing the word wavy and themes of being wavy. So when Kanye announced that his album was going to be called Waves, Wiz Khalifa would send out several tweets saying, "Please don't take the wave. Max B is the wavy one. He created the waves. There is no wave without him." Alongside several tweets sharing Max B music. And what followed this was a classic Kanye rant, bashing Wiz and even Wiz's ex, Amber Rose. And this is when Amber Rose jumped in and alluded to some backdoor antics in which Kanye is a fan of. But not too long after this, Max B called into New York's Power 105.1 and said he didn't mind the name at all.
"It's all love. I appreciate it. I'm flattered that dude is even acknowledging the situation. Everybody know I'm an innovator. Everybody know I got imagination. I come up with these words and these slogans and these catchphrases, and it's all good when the people follow suit. I like Kanye. I appreciate it. I love it. Thank you. We don't have a relationship. I never met him. I feel like he got it from the atmosphere, and the atmosphere got it from me. It's all good. That's what art is about. We take things from each other as artists. The creative process. He ain't drop a diss record. He just called his album Waves."
The Waves album was eventually renamed to The Life of Pablo, and as a sign of respect to Max B, included a voicemail from Max B to French Montana. This is track 15 off the album, Silver Surfer Intermission, and features him talking about Kanye and the name Waves. Ultimately, Max B is set to be released in the next couple of years, and I can only assume he will return with new music for the masses. Maybe we'll even see an official Kanye West feature. Widely regarded as the best rap album recorded in prison, Thank You for Using GTL from Draco the Ruler and produced by Juke Season. Draco is a relatively known artist in the music scene with several well-known songs and mixtape releases dating all the way back to 2014. However, in March of 2018, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder, which all stemmed from a 2016 shooting in Carson, California. The charges were eventually dropped. However, the DA refiled charges of gang conspiracy as well as shooting from a motor vehicle. It was during this time of incarceration that he would record Thank You for Using GTL over a prison phone, spending numerous hours rapping while producer Juke Season recorded them and spent even more time compiling them onto beats. The final project was a 19-song album which was officially released on June 5th, 2020. The album's a great listen and is easily the best rap album recorded over the phone. Outside of the lyrical content, flows, and pretty hype beats, the album also highlights how GTL overcharges for their fees, which would actually spark a debate into the GTL service. Later in November of 2020, Draco was released from prison after accepting a plea deal and returned to music. These post-prison projects included a studio album and 5 separate mixtapes, with the final coming in December of 2021. That same month, Draco was backstage at the Once Upon a Time in LA festival. He passed away on December 19th, 2021, and as far as I can tell, the case remains open. Following the rapper Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa called for peace in hip-hop, and Draco remains the classic story of a rapper gone too soon due to gang violence. There's no saying what he would have been able to record had his life not ended so suddenly. Before I give you guys the final entry, I feel it's only right to include Gucci Mane on this list. When talking about rappers creating a buzz from behind prison walls, Gucci Mane will always have to be mentioned. Literally tons of releases have dropped during Gucci's stints in prison. However, none of these albums were recorded during his time in prison, which does disqualify him from this list. Still, it wouldn't be right not to mention him during a list of this kind. Finishing with an artist who made an entire career off jailhouse recordings, we have Xrated. Xrated is a legend in horrorcore and gangster rap who began rapping in 1989. His first official album was Psychoactive, recorded in 1990 and released in 1992, alongside fellow rapper Brother Lynch Hung. However, prior to the release of this album, Anna Ray Brown, aka Xrated, was arrested alongside 4 other gang members for the murder of Patricia Harris. In March of 1992, Xrated and other gang members broke into the home of a rival gang member, and once they saw a figure in the dark, they opened fire. When it was all said and done, they actually hadn't shot the rival that they were there for, and instead, they had shot their mother, Patricia Harris, ultimately ending her life. Brown has never admitted to the murder, but the murder weapon is said to have matched the same gun on the Psychoactive album cover. Also, his own lyrics from the Psychoactive album were used against him in court. As a result, Brown was sentenced to 31 years to life for murder. While awaiting trial, Xrated began recording songs over the telephone, which were compiled for the 1995 album Exorcist, which is a 16-track project completely recorded over the phone. Only 4 years later, Xrated released another album, Unforgiven Volume 1, which would be his third studio album. This third album was also recorded entirely behind bars. However, unlike Exorcist, Xrated recorded his raps on a DAT recorder, which was said to have been smuggled into the prison. It's said that the recorder and all recordings were being smuggled in and out by prison guards. As you would guess, it's hard to know exactly how the project came together, but nonetheless, the album includes some of Xrated's best work, including what could be his most famous song, Macaframa. After that, Xrated would release another 10 albums from prison, including one album under the moniker Nefarious to evade California's Son of Sam 2 law. Finally, on September 14, 2018, after serving 26 years, he was released on parole and continues rapping to this very day. Xrated was able to create an entire legacy rapping from prison, and is truly one of the most interesting stories in rap. Xrated made the most of his situation and has been able to maintain status as a respected rapper for nearly 30 years, despite what he's been through and what he's done. As you might have guessed, this was a kind of a hard topic to find some information on, but I think I did pretty good covering some of the best cases of albums recorded from prison. But if you know any other rap albums which were recorded from prison, please let me know and please comment them down below. And yeah, if you guys are interested in hearing a 24-year-old white guy talk about rap music, consider hitting that subscribe button, or at the very least, like the video, because it really helps me out. But, you know, I can't really tell you what to do, man. Free Max B.